Let's draw upon popular culture once more, like we did in the video concerning the Fight Club, and explore the movie The Matrix and how it reflects upon modern systems and modern man. And we must do this because, unlike in the past, our only shared reference point is now Hollywood. Hollywood movies. It's our shared myths. It's our shared psyche, our shared tradition. From the beginning, let's notice some things about the Matrix. First of all, its usage of the term Zion when it describes this underworld city where the awoken defend themselves against the machine world. Now, I don't think there's anything accidental in pop culture. In this case, the symbolism is quite obvious. Zion now has taken on a positive connotation in the psychology of the average child who watches the movie. Now, there's many symbolisms in this movie, many philosophical propositions, implications, all of which are glossed over in this speedy Hollywood methodology. Nothing is delved into deeply. It's sort of mentioned and implied, and then it's replaced by another idea. All of it, of course, is meant to vent. For instance, modernity creates a sense of disillusionment with the world. And in order to deal with this, the system produces films that speak to this disillusionment. They describe it, they represent it, they symbolize it, and then they give it an access to vent itself. So the individual watching the movie feels cleansed at the end of it, like all of his ideas have been dealt with, and he can now return to his old life, his usual life, the only life he is allowed to have. Let's fast forward to the end of the film, just to provide a premise. At the end of the film, we see Neo, the hero, the one, the Jesus-like character who's going to save mankind, being carried away, dead, by the machines. And you will witness there his position, reminiscent of Jesus being taken off the cross, the cross-like, the Savior who gives his life for mankind, no less. This is the final verdict of the entire film. No matter what has been said, what thoughts, what ideals have been touched upon, in the end, the only solution is the sacrifice of the one, the special one, the deity, the ideal man, to the entirety of humanity for its salvation. And yet, no absolution, no final absolution is ever achieved. The cycle repeats itself. Now, in the movie, the machine world is cast as the evil entity against which humanity buries itself, sort of like a subconscious burying itself within the soul, so as to escape the authoritarian machine world. And of course, the hero of the movie has no other goal or motive, is given no other goal or motive other than saving mankind, those that are asleep within the matrix, from the matrix. And this is where it becomes all Christian. Now, why are people who have awoken one way or another would want to save mankind? Well, the answer is never given. The reason for it is never given. It's assumed that it's self-evident that any man who awakens to a reality that the many do not share is obliged, for some reason, to awaken the masses. And what is this obligation based on? Nothing more than Christian ethos. We might go as far as to say that if a movie is to be successful and sell, that the hero cannot be a hero that is in any way contrary to the common popular ethos. And this ethos means that everybody watching the film has to feel at the end of it that he too has been saved, that he too has been given absolution, that he too has been awoken to a reality he was not aware of before. This happy ending addiction of Hollywood, meant to sell itself to as many people as possible, can be seen in many movies. Some notable ones are the Hannibal Lecter trilogy, which has an ending contrary to the book's ending, the book it was based upon. And then we have the movie Shawshank Redemption, based on a short story by Stephen King. Again, here we have an ending that is not what the author had given in the short story. And we see here the desire to sell a message to the masses so as to make the movie, the message itself, popular. Popularity is the goal here. The more people accept something, the more real it is. In this case, we see that reality is a democratic event. That is, people vote upon what is real and what is not. No matter how stupid people are, how simple, how ignorant, their vote counts. Therefore, reality is based on a democratic process. Now I would say that, contrary to this message of all inclusion, or the message that all deserve to be awoken, or all deserve absolution, or that not only that all deserve it, but more so that all can actually be awoken, since I doubt that this is the case at all. Most people are too dense and too asleep, too thick in their sleep to be awoken by anything. You can shake him, you can tell them, you can anything, you can scream in their ear, they won't wake up. The simple reason is the dream is preferable to the real, because the real is never something that is beneficial to them, or that is immediately beneficial to them. The real actually challenges the mind. It's indifferent to human emotion and preference. It forces the mind to either adapt and live, or die and be forgotten. There is no other alternative. Now, in the case of the movie The Matrix, not only must we wonder why the hero is compelled to wake up all of mankind, why he even considers them worthy of being awoken, why he considers his own life worth the sacrifices to wake them all up. But more so, one would question what the benefit of this would be. Is the hero in this film identifying with the masses? And for what reason is he identifying himself with the masses? Here, the concept of identity of self-knowledge, of knowing oneself, comes up. That is, whom do we consider our own? With whom do we associate? With whom do we sympathize and consider worth our efforts and our love and our sacrifices? This is the bottom line. And I would submit that the simpler the mind is, the simpler its conceptions are, the more shallow its self-awareness is, the more it is prone to identify with generalities. For instance, to identify with a tribe, a racial group, is less of a generality than to identify with a concept like the human race, which is a far greater generality, and more so to identify with the concept of life, as if everything that is living is automatically of one's kind, and that all that's living is automatically worth one's sacrifice and effort, for no other reason than it resembles us on a very minute, superficial level. I would say discrimination is this awareness of details which make the mind identify with more precision. To be aware of more detail means to be aware of more differences. And this is why discrimination is so abhorred by the system. It creates divisions internally, and so it creates strife internally. And the system is all about creating order, that is, about enhancing its power. And so the more uniform the internal is, particularly when it comes to awareness of identity, all the more better and more effective the system becomes. Take, for example, ants or bees or such simple creatures that are social creatures. Why are they so stable socially? Because they have very little sense of self, very little identity outside of the hive, the ant colony, and therefore there's no possibility of internal strife. And this is what the superorganism, if you will, is all about. It's creating this internal uniformity through this leveling, through this elimination of sexual divergence, but also racial divergence, tribal divergence, cultural divergence, divergence in principles and values, and more so in intelligence. By enforcing a strict code of behavior, conduct, and thought, it forces the mind to limit itself. Certain ideas are prohibited, are not allowed, are evil or hateful. Shame is used to prohibit certain thoughts. This is classic brainwashing and indoctrination.